When I think about NFTs, I often don't think about the actual NFTs themselves. I think a lot about value, and many NFT assets will have value, even long term, but the amount of work to identify that value isn't worth it to me. So when I think of NFT value, I think about infrastructure. So are you ready to get structured? You don't have a choice, because it's time for Chico Crypto. Marketplaces, how NFTs will be exchanged, tooling for new NFT creation, and NFTs integrating with DeFi. In this blossoming space, that is what I've been looking for. And today we're going to dive right back into NFT projects, the ones I've been eyeing and hodling, starting at the highest market cap. And this high market cap NFT project isn't one you would think would be changing the NFT game, but they are. And that is Chainlink, that stanky link. They knew even before the NFT hype was here, NFTs were gonna be big. In June of last year, they dropped this blog post: 16 ways to create dynamic non-fungible token NFTs using Chainlink oracles. Dynamic NFTs? What in the freak is that? Well, NFTs as we know them today, ERC 721 and ERC 1155, are static NFTs. They are simple right now, yet the ideal collection vehicle. Immutable, everlasting, resistant to theft, impossible to counterfeit on the blockchain. Those standards could become dynamic, and that is when the real fun begins. Dynamic NFTs will be perpetual smart contracts. They use oracles to communicate with and react to external data and systems. The oracles allow the NFTs to use those external data and systems as a mechanism for minting and burning of NFTs, trading peer-to-peer, and checking state. For example, in that blog, Chainlink said, a smart contract that automates the minting of a limited edition digital soccer card if the oracle informs it that a player scored a hat trick. A sweet frickin' possibility that is coming sooner than you think. If you didn't know, Chainlink has their VRF, their verifiable randomness generator. Chainlink Oracle nodes create a random number, which is then inputted into smart contracts. And the VRF has been live on the mainnet since October of last year. And this VRF gives dynamic abilities to NFTs through randomness. Developers since October could apply random traits to an NFT. Chainlink VRF can be used as an input to randomize the placement, creation, and or distribution of in-game items. For example, fair and unbiased randomness can determine each game's item's rarity and power ranking when it is minted. And guess what? Today, NFT projects are implementing just that, the VRF. EtherCats just sold out for minting of the Founders series. And as we can see, the mints use the Chainlink VRF. And the Founders packs each contain 5 random Founder Series cats, with a random rating and random multiplier all decided by the VRF. And just last month, the Chainlink team and YouTube channel had the EtherCats team on to discuss how they were using the VRF and even demoing the code. So the beginning of pure randomness with NFTs is beginning through Chainlink live on the Ethereum mainnet. But it doesn't stop there. Like the first example, real-world events can be inputted into NFTs. Minting an NFT card based on a hat trick? What about going even further, where the value of the NFT cards depends on the real-life statistical outputs of the associated player? Chainlink oracles can source real-life performance data to determine the value of cards, which is used to decide the winners of tournaments and trigger winning payouts. Even more down the rabbit hole, what about authenticity verification, even with identity? Going back to their blog post on NFTs and Chainlink, they speak on identity and say, several projects are already working on how to develop digital identities that can interface with many existing applications. By doing so, users can plug and play it with other applications to keep control of their private data. Chainlink allows smart contracts to query identity-based blockchains to verify personal credentials, as well as to append data to a person's identity based on an output from another business process. Interestingly, identity may interplay with cyber-physical systems in the future, wherein a digital identity will give authorized users access to a physical system. Several projects are working on digital identity, and this identity will interplay with the cyber physical systems, where a digital identity gives authorized access to physical systems. Doesn't that sound like another NFT project I'm oh so bullish on? Luxo. Luxo posted this in October on Twitter, around the same time of the Chainlink VRF go live. ERC 725 standard, the standard allowing the creation of universal profiles on a blockchain and proposed by our co-founder Fabian Vogelsteller. Don't get it? Relax. Just remember that those profiles are universal logins across blockchain applications, reflecting your digital identity. Luxo's goal is to bridge the physical world and the digital world, NFTs for both digital and physical items that are tied to a person's identity. And Fabian thinks this identity will be powered by ERC 725. So, will Chainlink be involved with the Luxo mainnet, which we got info is slated for release in Q2 2021? Only time will tell. That's Stinky Linky and Luxo, building the infrastructure which I think will push NFTs beyond today's boundaries. But what about the trading of NFTs, exchanging them? There is no instant satisfaction with the big markets right now. As it's P2P, a seller needs to wait for a buyer. There needs to be more efficient ways of trading and swapping these assets, and I've been zeroing in on a project doing just that. But before we get into that, it's time for a sponsored segment of this video, supported by our friends at the Git Protocol. And like always, the full details of our agreement can be found in the description. So the use cases of NFTs are far and wide reaching. We've covered art, gaming, and more, but Git Protocol is dominating a certain area. Their name, Git Protocol, is short for Guaranteed Entrance Protocol. Entrance? Yeah, their focus is on tickets and ticketing through tokenization and NFTs. This market ticketing isn't small by no means either. By 2025, expected to be a nearly $70 billion industry. And the Git Protocol has been around since 2017, carving their chunk into this industry. They've issued over 500,000 blockchain registered tickets to date, and with the hype of NFTs, that number will only accelerate. They issue smart tickets as ERC 721 NFTs, which gives the issuers more control over those tickets, and it gives the event goers benefits too. Git NFT smart tickets are controlled by the wallet holder and blockchain address. Of course, this provides transparency of ownership, but it also means they are transferable at the will of the owner. Also, the owner of it has a digital collectible that lives forever on the blockchain. For the ticket issuers, they of course can control resale markets and the rules of the tickets, but they can also implement time locks to those tickets. This allows them to protect their fans and event goers from malicious third parties. You know how tickets work in the real world. Scalpers, exorbitant prices. Git Protocol can stop this. And Git has been implemented into ticketing platforms, succeeding at providing the benefits stated above. Guts Tickets is the first commercial company which implemented the Git Protocol to create an honest ticketing service. They have a functioning web and mobile applications for their ticketing platform, already working with many partners to fill venues, festivals, and even stadiums. The app is easy to understand. It looks like most ticketing platforms. You can even get drinks and parking through it. They also allow ticketing by floor plan. But their tickets also have features like dynamic QR codes, changing every so often. Every ticket issued by Guts on Git over 600K, not a single one has been scalped. But the tickets soon are going to be able to do so much more. Since it's an NFT, it's composable. It's a Lego block for DeFi, decentralized finance. And guess who has partnered to bring NFT tickets even further? Chainlink and the Git Protocol. Git is implementing their VRF for randomness with their tickets, especially ticket lines. Depending on pending development and design, ticket buyers will be able to easily verify the randomization that has been given to them for their place in line to buy the ticket. With a simple click of a button, while they wait, they can verify. But now I want to go back to their website to highlight a certain feature. They say the Git protocol approach to event finance using NFTs. Our DeFi investment module, which is expected to go live in 2021, will offer tooling for organizers to sell their ticket inventory forward. This is achieved by tokenizing the future tickets in an NFT. So what exactly does that mean? Well, this will allow those event organizers and their artists to pre-finance their events by collateralizing their tickets and offering them up to DeFi investors. And that is coming soon. And of course, if any of this interests you, links for the Git protocol and Guts are below. Now back to the trading and the swapping of those NFTs. What project do you think I'm going to bring up? NFT20. They tweeted this 2 days ago. If you have an NFT project or love a project that is not yet on NFT20, it's high time to create the pool and add liquidity for it. In a few days, we'll enable anyone to trade NFTs using any ERC20 tokens in the most liquid way ever created. A few days is not two, usually 3 or more, so NFT20 could have a big release tomorrow or in a couple of days. And below the tweet, they explained it a bit further. A Rich on Twitter asked, it will be NFT20 for ERC20 or an ERC20 like Wi-Fi for any NFT, ERC721. I think Rich was a little confused, but NFT20 replied, any ERC721, 1155, ERC20 combination. That is big, and I'm licking my chops to find out just what. But things aren't only looking bullish for NFT20 within their own department, or a member Vasa Develop, who is working on the cross-asset NFT swapper for NFTX. Well, they posted an update before taking a development break for exams. As we can see, NFTX and NFT20 are the two markets on the sell side, and both are integrated on the buy side. But also on the buy side, Rarible, Axie Infinity, CryptoPunks, and OpenSea is a work in progress. The blue chips in the NFT space are obvious to me, even if the market cap rankings doesn't view NFT20 as a blue chip yet. It will soon. But what about that mysterious Alchemist coin, which is creating NFTs and universal vaults? Remember, they aren't on CoinGecko. They just needed to get their front-end UI ready. The application is processed. They're just waiting for that website. Well, going to the front-end GitHub for the coin, it's active, being worked on, and looky there, a link, alchemist.farm. Going to that, very nice, it's almost there. But remember, it isn't ready, that link, the team will announce it when it is. But they are getting close, real close. Cheers, I'll see you next time.